a very warm welcome to everyone who has joined tonight for discussion on Talking Films Online. Talking Films Online, or TFO in short, is an informal coming together of academics, teachers, students, researchers, filmmakers, and cinephiles interested in cinema. More importantly, interested in talking and writing about cinema. The online group came together quite spontaneously during the pandemic and lockdown in June 2020. Dr. Geeta Vishwanath and I have been coordinating the activities of TFO since its inception, with people like Sanjay Kumar, Sridhar Modugu, K. Paniraj, Ajanta Sarkar, Murli Krishna, Tarkeshwar VB, Yagnashri, Rasha, Madhurima, and many others who join the weekly discussions and enhance the quality of the discussion. So far, we have organized 219 online events. This is the 220th one, which include weekly discussions on a pre-decided film, besides a few month-long film festivals and discussions. For instance, this year in January, last year in 2024 in January, we had a Farmers Film Festival. And last March, we had a series of discussions on Kumar Shahni's films as a way of paying tribute to him. In September last year, we also had a Kannada movie month where filmmakers like Prithvi Konanur, Srinidhi Bengaluru, and screenplay writers like Ananta Chandreya joined the discussion. Sometimes personnel from the film industry, such as directors, cinematographers, actors, join our weekly discussions. Filmmakers often make their films available exclusively for TFO members to watch by generously sharing links to their films. And they also join the discussion. We've had directors like Sashikant Anantachari, Utsav Gonwar, Jayant Cherian, Girish Kasarvalli, Adur Gopal Krishnan, Aparna Sen, Anjali Montero, and KP Jayashankar. And just last week, we had Uma Magal, who shared her documentary link with us. During June last year, to mark the 4th anniversary of TFO, we had organized the 4th smartphone short film competition for students between 18 and 25 years of age. And we had a grand award ceremony where the winners of the competition were announced. So look out for the 5th anniversary of TFO and the announcement of the smartphone short film competition this year. Recently, on September 30th and October 1st, we had the first TFO International Seminar on Indian Cinema in the Digital Era, Continuities and Discontinuities, in collaboration with FCT, Forum on Contemporary Theory, Baroda. Its special keynote speaker was Professor Swarnavel Ishwaran. Our aim is to get a conversation going around cinema and to get as many people involved in the process as possible. With all our events being online, anyone, and particularly the weekly events being online, anyone and everyone interested in cinema is welcome to our forum. We have a blog called talkingfilmsonline.wordpress.com where we encourage all kinds of writings on cinema. We have a YouTube channel called Talking Films Online where you can watch some of our discussions. We are on Facebook. TFO is a private group on Facebook. We're also on Instagram and WhatsApp as well, where we share information about the weekly discussions. Today, we pay tribute to a master filmmaker, Shyam Benegal, who passed on 23rd January 2024. He is one filmmaker we could not manage to get on TFO, and that is not for want of trying. We contacted him in June 2021 when we discussed his film, The Making of the Mahatma, and he had politely replied that he is unable to join us because the time is not suitable for him. Once again, after a year or two, we had tried to get in touch with him, but he had said that he would be traveling to Bangladesh and hence could not join us. Recently, when we discussed his film, Welcome to Sajjanpur, we emailed him again, but this time there was no response, which was unusual given the unfailing courteousness with which he had responded to us earlier, though he could not accept our request. So TFO tonight can only pay tribute to him in the way we know, by organizing a discussion on his film. Fortunately, when I requested Dr. Shubha Dwivedi to initiate conversation on a film for TFO, Shubha immediately responded by suggesting a couple of films by Shyam Benegal, and that was absolutely perfect for us. So here we are tonight discussing MAMMO, and Dr. Shubha will initiate the conversation on the film. Shubha Dwivedi is a poet, translator, researcher, and teaches English at the Department of English, ARSD College, University of Delhi. She's been awarded MPhil from Delhi University and DPhil from Allahabad University. Her scholarly interest lies in women's writing, American literature, 20th century British drama, translation studies, creative writing, Indian literature in English, folk culture, and folk theatre. Her research papers have been published in a number of very prestigious journals. Her translations have also featured in a number of literary publications, including Indian Literature, The Literary Voice, Kritya, Kavya, and so on. She has also reviewed books and has delivered many papers at various national and international seminars and conferences. She's been a resource person at academic seminars, creative writing, and communication skills workshops. She has made significant contributions to her college's corporate life by serving on various committees. Here she is with us tonight to discuss, to initiate discussion on Shyam Benegal's film MAMMO. Over to you, Dr. Shubha Dwivedi. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Now it's over to you.
Warm greetings, everyone. Thank you, Professor Nikhila. Thank you for the warm invitation that you sent out to me to talk about the visionary filmmaker, Shyam Benegal, his vision, his art, his philosophy, and his works, and much more. So today I am here to talk about my readings and my appreciation of the master filmmaker's works. And I have chosen his movie, which is not so much talked about actually, a 1994 movie, MAMMO, to talk about his unique style of filmmaking and his, distinctive themes that he chose for his narrativizing or movies, and a lot. And before that, I would like to share my screen with all of you, just to give you an idea. Yeah. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, it is.
First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt tribute, or rather a collective tribute from the Talking Films online forum, which is a wonderful forum to celebrate world cinema, not just Indian cinema, but also world cinema. And today we are able to remember and cherish the works of the legendary filmmaker Shyam Benegal. As you can see that some of his critically acclaimed movies are now readily available on different platforms. All of you must have savored these movies at some point of time in your life, starting with Ankur, Bhumika, Charandas Chor, Junoon, Manthan, Suraj Ka Satwa Ghoda, Mandi, and Bazaar, and many others. You could see that, he was a prolific filmmaker. He gave us 26 feature films, 65 documentaries, and about 35 feature-length documentary films and television serials. And most importantly, his revisionary history, or his take on Indian history through Bharat Ki Khoj, which is a revision of re-envisioning of India through his lens, is very remarkable.
Shubha, sorry to interrupt you. There is a suggestion that you can make your slides full screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a second. Give me a second. Okay, why am I not able to do that?
No, do continue if it's taking time, not a problem. you can continue.
Yeah, so as suggested by Shakespeare, that a man can perform several roles in one's life in his lifetime. So was Shyam Benegal, who showed his creativity, whose creativity got manifested in various forms, and he started his career in advertising, and before making ad films and documentaries, and then he entered into the field of cinema, and also expanded to television. He even had a small stint as a teacher at FTII, at the Film and Television Institute of India. He later served as a director of the National Film Development Corporation, even as he pivoted into TV with Yatra and the staggeringly ambitious Bharat Ek Khoj, based on Jawaharlal Nehru's book, The Discovery of India, by compressing 5,000 years of history into 53 episodes. In his later life, Benegal also got the chance to represent, into politics, and by joining the Rajya Sabha Parliament's upper house between 2006 and 12. His valuable contributions to Indian society were recognized, and that's why he was bestowed with numerous public accolades, including many national awards for his different movies. Also, he got the privilege of presenting India at international film festivals quite often. And the various awards that he received during his lifetime include the Padma Shri, the Padma Bhushan, the Indira Gandhi Award for National Integration, and the Dada Saheb Phalke Award. Moving on, one can only talk about, one is already aware of his diverse over and his prolific, work. And what is important to note here is that he provided critical insight into the post-independence realities of India, and his engagement with the inequities in the newly independent nation is even more significant. He was a pioneer figure or a pioneer figure on alternative or parallel cinema or new cinema. There are various, terminologies used to talk about the different kind of cinematic experience he was providing through his films. He is also remembered for mentoring a host of exceptional actors, technicians, cinematographers to both art and mainstream cinema in India. His films narrativize the nation, its people, with all their flaws and foibles and strengths. His film narratives give a counter discourse to state and nationalistic ideologies, working in the interest of the downtrodden and the marginalized. This is very important because while he was also working closely, for the nation state, for the new nation state, for the government, for the various government organizations, he did not, shy away from calling a spade, and did point out the various problems and the loopholes that were there in the system, and because of which the lives of the marginalized and the underprivileged were sort of getting complicated. His film narratives give a counter discourse to state and nationalistic ideologies. He reconfigured many of the historical events through the eyes of women and the lower caste and class. Shyam Benegal, a visionary storyteller and a revolutionary filmmaker, was thus remembered by many of the important figures and personals of our country recently after his demise. President Draupadi Murmu expressed her pain and and the loss in words like, "It is the end of a glorious chapter of Indian cinema and television." PM Narendra Modi expressed his grief by writing, "His works will continue to be admired by people from different walks of life." Saddened by the demise of our iconic filmmaker Shyam Benegal, a pillar of Indian parallel cinema, he was loved and admired, Mamta Banerjee wrote. A giant of India's new wave cinema who leaves a considerable body of cinematic accomplishment behind. Thus expressed Shashi Tharoor his sentiments on the great loss. He sowed ankur of new cinema and rediscovered Bharat. Sunil Nair's view, in the Times of India, the next day of his demise, aptly covers his contribution to the country and to the history of cinema, the way he made cinema purposeful, the way he gave new directions to the people, to the citizens of the new country. newly independent country. Bella Jaisinghani wrote, Benegal told raw and real stories about ordinary people. Now, all great literature or all great art cannot dissociate itself from the lives and from the travails of the ordinary or the common people. And in Shyam Benegal's works, we can clearly see that throughout his life, he remained committed to the predicament, to the ordeals of the and to the fate, life and fate of the commoners. He was not just a director, but also a doctor, a psychiatrist, father figure, and a banker. Noted actor and playwright late Girish Karnad mentioned way back, when he was asked to express his views about Shyam Benegal's contribution. Shyam Benegal was a giant of Indian cinema. He told stories without pretense. They were raw and real about the struggles of ordinary people. His films had craft and conviction. He changed Indian cinema not with noise, but purpose. Thus wrote film director and producer Mahesh Bhatt. So agreeing with all of these sentiments, which have been, expressed by all of the, great people in our country, we move on to the, next slide to see and learn about Benegal's art. So, most importantly, he was a humanist, and his films captured the essence of the time, the zeitgeist, reflecting the spirit of the era and the basic traits of Indian democracy. He tried to capture democracy in its full diversity, the need for the integrity among diverse forces, and also the very fact of multilingual and multicultural fabric of India. His storytelling transcended a mere depiction of society, serving as a critique of human foibles and failings and exposing the corruption present within various institutions. At some point, it also involved the documentation and the making visible or the articulation of heterogeneous human experiences in all their complexities and nuances. His films depicted the stratified Indian society, revealing its myriad flaws and loopholes. Some of the sayings, or you could say some of the words said by Benegal on different occasions can still guide us. As Emerson said that, lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. So here we have these words of Benegal to guide us on the path of, exploring life through art. I cannot separate the individual stories from the sociological circumstances. If I take it out, then I would not be true to the subject a film is, not a mere poster. It's not just unidirectional, but a part of the whole historical circumstance. And as a story has connection to the past, the future, and the present, it's only then that it comes to life. Shyam Benegal said this in March 2024. So one could clearly see the connect that he felt between art and society. So his was definitely art for life's sake. His approach to art was that of art for life's sake, and art has to be made sustainable to guide and to direct life in a more meaningful purpose, and also sort of give equal opportunities and varied representation to diverse people from different walks of life. As a filmmaker, you have to consider yourself as a representative of humanity. When you make a film, yes?
No, you can continue.
When you make a film that contests a whole value system, obviously you should not expect that to be exceedingly popular. So here we have a very daring, courageous filmmaker who is not afraid of saying the truth. And no wonder, because he totally, completely admired Mahatma Gandhi. And he had taken his value system from Mahatma Gandhi, and he later on, worked on many of his thoughts and ideas into his movies. So he was ready to fight the system and never cared for being popular or to be commercially successful. And that was the beauty of his works, that could satisfy the movie viewers, the movie lovers, that they could see reality as it was, and could also, find a meaning underneath it. You can and you should and you must raise your voice against intolerance, particularly related to the minorities of the country. So throughout his life, he championed the cause of the downtrodden, the poor, the women, the lower caste, the lower class, the suffering minority. And that comes out very clearly in most of his movies. Various influences on Benegal's art, although I am not very sure, as I have not read any of his biography on his life or whatever, but what I could gather or glean from various resources is uh, presented in front of you. The Soviet filmmakers and Mahatma Gandhi, Satyajit Ray, Vimal Roy, Guru Dutt, Akira Kurosawa. So there were many masters whom he admired and appreciated for their truthfulness and for their, treatment of the subject in the most honest manner. His preferred themes were the position of the subaltern in society, feudal tyranny, caste discrimination, gender inequality, sexual repression, women empowerment, socio-political, communal, financial discrepancies, sufferings of partition, and history of the nation. Now, moving on to the movie that we have chosen today to discuss and to talk about, it's very important to see that Benegal had empowerment of women as his lifelong agenda. Throughout his life, throughout his various narratives, throughout his various movies, he kept on talking about, women of different communities and the way they were oppressed and abused and deprived of their rights, deprived of their dignified existence, their voice, and all of his movies, they talk about this subject in a rather subtle way, without making it a propaganda or a noise or a campaign, sort of a thing. So you can see that the political or the radical approach is rather subtle in the treatment of these important subjects. So, Mammo, talking about the themes and issues, I have hinted some of the themes here. As one could see, there are various ways to look at this movie, and this is one of the most underrated Shyam Benegal movie, I believe, because no one talks about it. Obviously, there are all of the movies made by Shyam Benegal are real gems, and one can explore a lot and learn a lot about life through all of them. But Mammo in particular, it gives us a lot of ideas, and I think being a woman, I could relate to it in a better way and could even empathize with the characters and could see, what they were trying to do or what Benegal was trying to convey to us through the character of Mammo, the titular character Mammo, or the eponymous character. So, first of all, he tries to bring before us the lives of the women through the eyes of minority women. Now, all of us know that, partition was a cataclysmic event and it had, played a havoc in the lives of all of the people who had to witness it. So, from that point of onwards, scholars, feminist scholars, and historians, they have talked about the invisibility of women in histories. And Benegal's approach or Benegal's treatment of this subject, post-partition lives of minority women, is something that actually works towards the voicing of minority women or partition sufferers. Cinematic rendition of true stories of survivors, adopting minority perspective and interiorizing domestic spaces. Engagement with the shared history of the divided subcontinent and instances of memories interaction with history. Interrogation into forced mass migrations, dislocations, and dispossessions. Friendship, trust, love, belonging, betrayal are some of the other important themes in Mammo. So we see that, in Mammo, the three important characters, Mammo, her sister Fayazi, and their grandson, or Mammo's grandnephew, Riaz, all three of them, they are looking for their own selves. They are on their journey to find their own selves. And but Mammo's vision, or you could say the filmmaker's vision, is quite inclusive. And through her journey, Mammo is able to sort of give a direction, a positive direction. She positively, or one could say that she positively affects the lives of those around him. And movie starts on a very bleak note, and you can see there's a lot of melancholy, a lot of grief and sadness in the air. And the three characters, it's a flashback, and Mammo is being reminisced by her grandnephew. He asks her grandmother about her whereabouts, and she brings the letter she has not been answering, which she had received from her sister on different occasions. And as we see that, there is a lot of, there's a lot of pain and suffering imbued in the relationship between the two sisters. And why is it that they can't be together? And the fact that Mammo was born in India in Panipat before partition was announced, before partition had happened, and after the partition, because of her father's insistence, she had moved to Lahore, and there she got married to the man, to the man of her choice, or whatever. That is not actually told. But one could really conjecture that they had a good relationship, because she remembers him fondly, and she says that she was well provided. But after the demise of her husband, she wants to come back to her nation, to the place, to her where she was born, to her roots, and to her only family, that's her sister, because apparently her in-laws are also mistreating her, and they are not giving her the respect or the love that she would she needs from a family. And as a last resort, she comes back to her roots, although on a temporary visa. So one can clearly see that, from being a woman with no agency, Mamu suddenly starts taking decisions for herself. So she, on a temporary visa, she makes a visit to her sister in Bombay, in the suburbs of Bombay, and she's very happy over there. And she wants the visa to be extended, and tries everything, tries to bribe the officer and everything. But sadly, she's deported, and and then she's not even given the time to put her things into her tin trunk, and to collect whatever little she has with her. So, in a very unfortunate, tragic manner, she's deported back to her country, or you can say the Lahore. And then after 20 years, she again comes back, and this time she has a foolproof plan so that she won't be deported again. And that is her death certificate. She has managed to get her death certificate so that she is not a burden on the new nation state. Now you can clearly see that how she is lost, how she is fighting between nationalist, agenda, and in fact, instead of being benefited by the partition, she is rather being destituted, and she's deprived of an identity and a dignified existence. So a lot is there in the movie which we can talk about. So other than Mammo, Feazi, so it's through Mammo that Feazi also gets a voice, and she gets some dignity. And earlier she is deprived of share in family property, but through Mammo's efforts and intervention, she gets her share in the family property. So you can see that Benegal has brought in a lot of issues related to the lives of women. First of all, talking about issues which are rather considered taboo, and then asking for their rights in their property, in the family property, and then the choice to get married to the person of one's own liking. The way she reminisces Riaz's mother, Zubaida, and also blames Fayazi for not taking action in the interest of the child. And because of which, the girl had an unfortunate ending, or a tragic ending. So all of that shows that Mammo is a very sensible woman, and she is a survivor in the real sense of the term, and she has been fighting for her existence. And in the process, she is also giving courage to other women. So her solidarity with her sister can be clearly seen throughout the movie, despite, I mean, changing colors, sometimes they fight, they are irritable, they are cranky, yet they are together and they love each other, they share stories with each other. So all of that is very heartwarming, and it shows that, women can actually come with each other, come for the support of each other. They can become each other's support system. So, post partition lives through the eyes of minority women is a very important theme that has been, uh, you know, that has been dealt with with great detail. Cinematic rendition of true stories of survivors. The story, it's the information is already there in the public domain that the plot was taken from a real life story. Muhammad Khalid, who was a very eminent film critic, it was a story of his aunt and his mother that he had actually written for he wrote the screenplay for this movie, and he had given his own family history for the plot of this movie. So the minority perspective and interiorizing of domestic spaces, engagement with the shared history, all of these issues are intricately held. The movie gives us a peep into the lived experiences of the gendered protagonists and the unwritten histories of suffering, the perpetual feeling of homelessness. And it's important to remember that here Benegal gives priority to literary and cinematic version of history rather than official history. And he mentions Garam Hawa. He talks about Manto's treatment of the theme of partition. He also talks about, I mean, there is this orality of partition. And you can say that, Mammo is a witness of partition. She's a survivor, and it's her testimony, her oral testimony, that gives an authenticity to the movie and to the treatment of the subject. So she talks about Garam Hawa, and they actually go Riaz and both the grandmothers. They they go to cinema hall to watch MS Sithu's Garam Hawa, and there's this iconic scene where Mirza's mother, reaches the house, the Haveli where she was born, and where she had gone as a bride, sorry, and then she breathes her last in that Haveli. So that important scene is there, and then both of them start shedding tears, and Mammo says that it's her story. So she can clearly, the story resonates with her so much that she gets tears into her eyes. So the whole impact of partition, as it was not just a political event, but it had a huge impact on the minds and the psyche of the people, and also the cultural crisis it created, and the atmosphere of hostility and suspicion that arose as a result of the partition between the two nations in the subcontinent. All of that is clearly brought out. So you can see that, it's a partition movie, but without showing the genocide or the scenes of horror, scenes of violence, it does talk about the loss, the sense of loss, the whole identitylessness, the question of directionlessness and sort of confusion that is there among the survivors. And as they are fraught between two divided nationalism. And in case of women, they have no voice, no agency. They are not there to choose. So for them, it's a tainted liberty. I mean, different critics, feminist scholars have treated this theme, how partition was, actually a patriarchal subject, and women were the recipients of the sufferings and the pain, the agony. So the lives of the women are clearly, brought before our eyes as Mammo talks about the scenes that she had witnessed. She talks about a mother who was carrying two children, infant children with her. and she had gone crazy as she had lost her home and kits and kins, and in that kind of atmosphere, she throws away the living child and keeps the dead child, close to her breast. So all of that is very unsettling, disturbing, but yes, the way it is being conveyed, as after the dust has settled and people have sort of started rebuilding their lives in their new countries. Mammo talks about this personal history, this personal incident that she had witnessed from close quarters, and she is conveying this to her grandson. So that's very important, and I think Benegal wanted to articulate, give voice to personal histories, and that's why he brings the character of Mammo to talk about these issues in a rather intimate manner, in an intimate atmosphere. So Urvashi Butalia also talks about the hidden histories of women, the way they narrated the oppression or the various the different kind of experience that women had. We know that a lot of physical, mental, psychological violence they had to undergo after the partition. And Urvashi Butalia mentions in The Other Side of Silence, her seminal work, a documentary work, or an alternative historiography, uh, as it is referred to these days. So she talks about how difficult it was for her to decipher those bits of history from the surviving women, to get those pieces of information from them. But here we see that, Mammo, as she's a survivor and a confident woman, courageous woman, she sort of gives away, all of that information to her grandson, to her grandnephew, in a very smooth and uninhibited manner. And yes, another thing is that Riaz is shaping to be a writer. So he's very sensitive to these subjects, and he sort of openly, responds to those issues. And one can see that, the kind of man he is becoming, more informed and more sensitive and inclusive in his way. Uh, Contrary to the authoritarian figures that Mammo had met, in her early life, her own father and rest of the relatives, male relatives, on the other side of the land. So all of that we see that this text, this movie, becomes an important text, in the sense that a lot of themes related to partition are talked about, although in a very sensitive and in a very subtle way. So recovery, those who have been reading partition literature, they know that recovery was a buzzword, or it was one of the agendas of the new nation states. And it's also a key theme in Mammo. And Riaz says that he wishes to recover Mammo from the past. So basically, he is articulating the history of his Mammo Nani, for others to realize, others to know the sufferings, the agonies of the partition women, or the women who survived the partition. So Mammo is an archetypal refugee who is perennially on exile, and who is devoid of a home, who is devoid of the love of the near and dear ones, till she has to declare herself to be dead. So that is the irony, that even in the new nation states, a woman like, Mammo is not given shelter. She's not given, recognition or citizenship. And she is a portrayal of thousands of partition affected women who were living fractured lives, who were bound, who were forced to, live abysmal lives. So Mammo, as a protagonist, shows traits of self-definition, self-exploration, and survival. And she lives life courageously. She refuses to be identified as a victim. And ultimately, it's only with her social death that she is allowed to go back to her roots. Now, the kinship, it's also important to see here that the kind of kinship that Mammo and Fayazi share with each other, it sort of gives them emotional and material sustenance. And although initially, there's a bit of reluctance from both Riaz and Fayazi to Mammo that she takes over their family system or family structure, and she's assertive, and she doesn't mind saying what comes to her mind. Uh, I mean, she is quite blunt and open and candid, but the fact is that she speaks sensible things, and she's very rational and truthful, and also has deep attachment to her sister and to her grandnephew. So this kind of relationship ultimately towards the end of the movie is explored to the full, and we see that three of them, they find support from each other, and they love each other, and they sort of find a way to be together. So overall, it's not a story that makes you sad. It's a story of a character, who has a very lovable personality. Farida Jalal, she did a great job, with the role of Mammo, and she is extremely humorous and affable and friendly, and comes across as a zinda dil personality, a person who loves life and who wants to enjoy life at all costs. So despite all the misfortunes, tragedies that have occurred in her life, she refuses to give up, and sort of, fights against the system, fights against the individuals, and refuses to be, to remain a victim. And that's what exactly she does to her sister, who is sort of quite you could say that, she is not that expressive, and is happy, or sort of agreed to her subordinate role in life, and the kind of duties that she's performing and all of that, and she has given herself to the well-being and to the happiness of her grandson. That is remarkable. But then the fact that Mamu discusses that she could never take uh, a correct decision in case of her daughter's life, and she could not stop her husband from deciding, her daughter's fate. That is something makes us think that, someone, all women basically, they need to make choices for themselves and for the coming generations, for their posterities, with some courage. And we see that Mammo is that kind of a woman who refuses to remain as a victim. And there's a lot that we can discuss, because I believe that all of you have seen the movie, and you would be having something, to share about, your understanding of the movie. Before I end, I would like to read out this quote that Shyam Benegal had told or had expressed in an interview with Snigdha Hassan, and it is recorded in Reader's Digest. Life is a one-way street. One has to keep going. First, you define the work for yourself and remain committed to it. Once there is total commitment, the work in turn begins to define you. So thank you everyone for your patient hearing. And I'm very grateful to Talking Films Online Forum for giving me this opportunity to share my reading and understanding of Shyam Benegal's Mammo.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shubha Dwivedi, for very, very competently introducing not just the film, but virtually the entire oeuvre of Shyam Benegal. I think this is an appropriate occasion for us to reminisce the works, the different films that
Yes.
Shyam Benegal made. Probably Geeta and I should also think of a kind of a film festival sometime this year on some of Shyam Benegal's little known films, particularly the documentaries and other films which are not much discussed. And as a beginning, Shubha, you have discussed one of his lesser talked about films, Mammo, and why it is relevant in the present day context. The discussion is now open. If anyone wants to come in at this point, please unmute yourselves and let me know if you want to speak. Anyone who wants to come in? Yes, Murali Krishna sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening all. Thanks to Shubha Dwivedi for recommending the film and also introducing the film today. Now I want to make three points about Shyam Benegal's filmography as such. We all know that in 1969, I think 1969 can be called as a watershed year as far as Indian cinema is concerned, because that's when Bhuvan Shom came, supposed to be the first new wave film in India. But we have to take into consideration that though the Indian new wave films were in a way influenced by French new wave films, there were directors like Kumar Sahani, who stood a different path, in fact, because Kumar Sahani worked as an assistant under Robert Bresson, who was known for his minimalist films. But conscientiously, Kumar Sahani adapted Indian aesthetics in his films. So I think Shyam Benegal also followed that path, because his films did not have that kind of stamp of new wave films. And that's my observation, first observation. The second observation is it's a very interesting take by Benegal, because I think last year when we were speaking to Sandesh of Unfiltered, he is a YouTuber, he's running a channel called Unfiltered. In that interview, Shyam Benegal, when asked about his three favorite films, all-time favorite films, Benegal says that he likes Aurat, Roti, and Sant Tukaram. Aurat, he liked the bold narrative of this melodramatic film. Roti, he was moved by the poignant storytelling. And Sant Tukaram, he admired the performance of the protagonist there, that's Vishnu Pant Pagnis, who donned the role of the Saint Tukaram. Oh, it's a very interesting take by Shyam Benegal, because he has never, he did not mention any of these new wave films or those films that made a mark in the new wave movement as such. Now coming into the third aspect of Shyam Benegal, you know, he was a rooted man in a way, and rightly pointed out by Shubha, he called spade a spade, because he did criticize the cinematographic act, warning that it may give rise to potential government overreach as far as film censorship is concerned. So then also, he did express his resentment and also condemned the killings of M.M. Kalburgi, Gauri, Govind Pansare, Narendra Davolkar, and also the vitiated atmosphere in which we are living today. Then I think I will quote the veteran film critic Siddhanand Dasgupta. He has pointed out that unlike Satyajit Ray, in fact, Siddhanand Dasgupta was very close to Satyajit Ray. He says Benegal's work deliberately took sides, dividing characters sharply into oppressors and oppressed. So that was Shyam Benegal in short. And I will not go into MAMMO, because I think the discussion today, Shubha has dealt it amply. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable observations.
Okay. Anyone else who would like to come in? Yes, Geeta, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Shubha, for that elaborate introduction. And for me, I thought the film, although the two narratives intersect, it was almost as if uh, there were two distinct narratives, and one is, of course, of Mammo, and the other is of Riaz. So Riaz's narrative is like a Bildungsroman, his growth and then his coming of age and then how he becomes a writer. So I thought that was also a very integral part of the narrative, which made it very interesting. And it's also a celebration of various art forms. There is poetry, and then there is cinema, and so that was also something that struck me, and of course, apart from that, the partition, and then the narrative of the marginalized sections, that is of women, all of that is certainly there. But along with that, I thought these were also, important parts of the film.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree, ma'am. So it's actually Riaz's life that takes shape, throughout the narrative, throughout the plot, and it's also the journey for the two women, independently and also together. I mean, in case of Fayazi also, although she has not been given that much of focus, but the fact is that she also learns to uh, live with others, to accept her sister, to accept the presence of another, person in her life, as she was sort of getting very, temperamental and also sort of obsessive about her grandson. But now she learns to share the lives, with others. And I think that was a post-partition atmosphere where everyone was sort of vulnerable, insecure about their possessions, about their belongings, about their relations and stuff. So going by the circumstances, going by the atmosphere in which they were having their being, one can see that all three of the characters, they learned and they grow, and Mammo, most importantly, she's the one, she's a leader, she is a champion, she sort of becomes an inspirational figure for others also. And the way she interferes in everyone's life, I mean, she touches everyone's life, even Shantabai, the house help's life. So there's this extension of the sorority or the love for becomes a support system for other women. So that is very good. And yeah, and Riaz's character, the way he shapes up, the way he sort of the two women are extremely protective about him, and yet he accepts the reality. And I think all of that is possible because he's a very sensitive individual and he wants to become an author. So already he has those traits of humanism within him. So he is being very receptive, taking all the influences, and and under the influence of two grandmothers, he's shaping well. So that's an important element, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to come in? I was thinking of this film. I think, as it foreshadows what might happen, what would happen to the Muslim community in the Indian context. As you said, the way in which what nation formation does is to expect a neat fit between identities, Muslims in Pakistan and so-called Hindus in India. But it's not as neat when things become messy, when people don't want to fit into the identities foisted on them. What can they do? What are the choices they have? And when MAMMO returns, as you said, the terms and conditions of her return are announced clearly through her death as a citizen. So she no longer has a country. So that seems to be the condition of her return. So which kind of poignantly foreshadows what India would be becoming in a few decades. That was one aspect. The second aspect is, this is also a time when we should, I think, reflect on the way in which we preserve and pass on filmmakers and their legacies. And Shubha, you and I know how, we kind of panicked about finding a good copy of this film, which was accessible to all. Actually, the copy that we all watched on YouTube does not do justice at all to the visual grandeur of the film. It was dark in most places. The subtitles were kind of there's such a mismatch. So if anything, if we are committed to preserving a filmmaker and his legacies, our acts should also, I think, push in this direction towards the way in which we make the films watchable. That was what I was thinking as I was watching the film. But good choice, and thanks for kind of bringing this film back into the discussion. Yeah, thanks. Anyone else who wants to come in? Murli Krishna sir, yes.
Sorry, I'm coming back again. So I think MAMMO can also be termed as a coming of age film as far as the character of Riaz is concerned. The second point is about the interesting reference to the film Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock in that film. That's made an interesting reading of the film. Thank you.
Yeah, also the way Faz is remembered, the lines of Faz are recited by MAMMO. So, I mean, there are diverse influences working on Benegal's mind at the time, I believe, and then he sort of assimilates them in a very harmonious whole, in a harmonious pattern. And we can see, and yes, obviously there is a prioritizing of literary and visual representation of partition and oral narratives through MAMMO's testimony rather than official history or the history that is available to us on the theme of partition.
It must be Faiz Ahmad Faiz, isn't it?
Yeah, Faiz Ahmad Faiz, yes, sir.
Okay, anyone else who wants to come in now? Fabian, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Shubha, for this presentation. It really helped me to understand the film. I've seen the film once, but I think I have to see it a second time because I didn't quite understand everything. But it's as it was said by Mr. Murali, it's true. I think the aesthetics, it made me think about Kumar Shahani films. There is something in common in the sobriety of treating the subject, and also, of course, about woman and woman issue. It's very interesting, but I was more interested by the child. The child character is so plausible. It's so credible because he's testing his limits, like smoking and then trying to put the dress, going to the cinema, putting
Watching
the book.
Playboy.
Yeah,
Reading
I
Playboy.
think this is a very good observation of children's. And I thought about the cinema of Truffaut, François Truffaut, who also has this characteristic of putting the children on screen with a lot of reality and a lot of resemblance, a lot of plausibility. So I was very interested by, and even the actor playing the child is so he's really he's great. He's subtle. So that's all I have to say. I have to see it a second time, and what you said really helps me if I have to screen the film for a second time. So thank you.
Thank you for your important observations. Yes, absolutely. Riaz is a treat to the eyes. I mean, the way he acts, it's so relatable. And one can actually identify him with any adolescent child, throwing tantrums and not liking the interference or, arrival of a stranger in a house. So his initial dismissal of, grandma Ammo is something that one can actually relate to, because children usually are not very open to new people, new places, new surroundings. And the way he shows his anger when his parents, are discussed, and there are revelations about his mother and his father, and also the revelation that his father was alive and he had abandoned him and had got married to another woman. So all of that is very relatable, and yes, superb acting by all the three characters, the young Riaz as well as the older Riaz, obviously, and the two females, Farida Zalal and Surika Sikri, and even the haunting music. There's a soundtrack. We need to talk about it. I mean, we won't be doing justice to the film unless we, talk about the song that is sung by Jagjit Singh. And beautiful song. It keeps haunting you. The theme of partition, the pain, suffering of partition uh,
Yes.
is brought alive. So, I mean, I have been using that audio in my partition literature classes in college. So I thought of talking about it. And thank you so much for enjoying the movie, for watching it, and for sharing your observations.
Yeah, anyone else would like to come in now? Madhurima, Jyoti, Rasha, Sanjay. Yes, Dr. Sanjay Kumar, please go ahead.
One of the themes which struck me was the theme of loneliness in this film. All of the characters, if you see, they're all, because of their own different circumstances, they're all caught in loneliness. So Fayazi, Riaz, and Momo, all these three characters. But their attitude towards loneliness is not the same. So if we see Fayazi, for example, that she has almost like come to terms with her loneliness, and she has accepted it like as a fate, or maybe her duty to bring up this grandchild. And she is just doing her duty quietly and leading her life. But Riaz has problem because he's growing and he's trying to understand things. And he has not been able to resolve this problem of loneliness, because it comes very evident when he meets his friends at his birthday, when all these people, they were invited by Momo, and he's not happy with this idea of meeting all these people, because that also gives them an opportunity to see his homes, to see his socio-economic condition, about which he has some kind of complex. He has developed some kind of complex. So that shows a very like turning point in the narrative. And Momo is probably the only character who has understood completely all the proportions, of loneliness in her life, and she has been constantly trying to come out of it. She has been making efforts, unlike Fayazi and other people. She is trying to communicate with people. So, for example, this being talkativeness is also an indication that she is trying to communicate with people. Even when she is in the taxi, she is asking some questions to this taxi driver, and she likes to share about her own life and also to know about the life of other people. So that's a way to get connected with the people. So she has been constantly making efforts to come out of her loneliness. The very fact that she has come out of that family of her in-laws, where she is maltreated, and so she comes to India, where she feels that she will have better treatment, and she will also meet her sister and the grandchild, the grandnephew. So the attitude towards the loneliness is not the same, though the theme of loneliness is presented very well, and it is very difficult to depict loneliness on the screen. Even in literature, it is very difficult to depict. But to a large extent, I think the director has been successful to show the loneliness of different characters and how they interact with the other people, and how they react to their events in their life. Even the song, for example, Dashte Tanhai, that is also the desert of loneliness, and the song written by Faz Ahmad Faz also highlights the fact of loneliness. And the second point is about the cultural references, which are very rich in this film. I mean, about which most of you have already talked about. This Riaz, who is studying and who is still in the 9th standard, but he has the ambition of being a writer. So he is reading Khalil Gibran, for example, and he wants to see films. Seems to be a fan of film buff. Seems to be a fan of Alfred Hitchcock. So he makes all these arrangements that we have seen in the film. And another time he is talking about the film of MS Sathu, that Garam Hawa, to his grandmother, to Mammo Nani. And he has been listening to the classical music. That also shows that how he has been growing. There is one reference to 4 seasons of Vivaldi also. And to that, even Mammo is also adding in her own way. That makes the character of Mammo very enriching, and contributing to the growing of this child. She also mentions, for example, when she asks, okay, so you want to become a writer, and then he says, yes, I want to talk about the experiences of my life, what I have seen in my life, observed closely. And then she says, oh, you want to be a writer like Manto. And then Faz, of course, is mentioned, Iqbal Mano also. So there are several cultural references mentioned in the film that show that how a child is growing in this atmosphere. So these are the 2 points I wanted to talk about. So thank you very much for introducing this film.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay sir. It was I mean, you have talked about various things, and all of those are quite relevant to the understanding and appreciation of the movie. And yes, there's a lot of melancholia, and the treatment of the melancholia, is also apt by Shyam Benegal. And incidentally, Ammo says that, she is not scared of, she is not tired of aging, she rather dreads loneliness. So she says that, at one point of time, she says that, बुढ़ापे से नहीं डर लगता है, अकेलेपन से डर लगता है. And then, yes, as very well pointed out, that she's trying to come out of her shell. She's approaching people. She's sort of encouraging others to open up. And towards the end, we can say that it's her presence that makes everyone to open up and, to reach out to others. So all of them, they become extremely friendly and open and sort of integrated into each other's lives. Yeah, and it's all because of Ambo's presence, because she's the one who takes the lead in opening up. Because one could not really expect that from Fayazi, the way she was dedicated, devoted to Riaz's happiness and, his life, and she was not making any effort to change her fate. Of course, she and Ambo both share the same widowhood, the fate of being widows, and they suffer through the conservative atmosphere of both their countries. I mean, in case of Ammo, she had even lived in Pakistan, and Fayazi being in a nation, where she is treated as a stranger, So with all of that added pain and the trouble, she has no desire to open up and to connect to others. And yes, the young narrator, he is exploring the world in his own limited ways. And I mean, in this time period when he is he's getting influenced by a lot of things, it's Mammo's presence which makes him more positive towards various things, towards music, towards trying out. And in fact, she's the one who never stops him from whatever he wants to experiment or try. So even the most unthinkable things, she sort of gives him company. She becomes his companion, that his mother would have been, or that his father would have been probably. But so she's trying to fill in the gap that has been created by the absent parents. And yes, we have to see that different shades of women characters, from disempowerment towards empowerment. So that's a sort of a good development. And in case of young Riaz also, we see the way he grows to be an informed and open-minded individual, broad thinking and accepting, inclusive, loving individual. So that shows the movement from melancholy to openness and to sort of progressiveness. Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, anyone else who would like to comment? Tarkeshwar?
No, I have nothing
Yeah,
much to
please go
add.
ahead.
Hello?
Please go ahead.
I have nothing much to add. Everyone has already discussed the various thematic concerns of the movie. I was just thinking aloud that most of the so-called new wave directors and their movies that we have discussed are actually undercutting our own theoretical understanding of the new wave movies. I think there is a case for re-evaluating the new wave movies uh, vis-a-vis the kind of knowledge that we have constructed about them. Maybe it was necessary or it became essential to fit the new wave movies vis-a-vis the quote unquote melodramatic popular movies. But interestingly, many of these movies also share those melodramatic elements, and they are also as social as the so-called commercial run-of-the-mill movies. So in that sense, most of these discussions that we have had in the last couple of years um, are pushing us to rethink about this category called new wave itself. Thank you.
Okay. Any
Especially in the context
sorry.
of this movie, where there is a lot of reference to popular movies and the movie culture, not in a derogatory sense, in a very uh, trying to understand the impact of the movie culture in India on the growing up kids. Not only growing up kids, even the grown up adults, those two women. So the impact of the movie generally on these people itself is quite interesting. And as everyone has pointed out, the intertextual references, both cinematic text as well as literary text, is also quite interesting in that sense. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Murali Krishna, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I think I noticed a motif in that film. That is of, I think it can be termed as a visual metaphor. That fish tank, no? Fish tank comes as a motif in the film. I think it in a way symbolizes the trappings of the three characters in that film. That is MAMMO trapped in between two countries, and also Riaz, his coming of age state in which he is living, then also Fayazi. So I think these three characters entrapment are shown through that visual metaphor.
Thank you, Murli sir. Actually, I had forgotten to mention this, and in fact, quite interestingly, the scene next to that. In fact, the fish tank is shown many times, and Riaz is very protective about his fishes, and he wants to give them the right kind of music so that they have proper, proper well-being and all that. And in the very next scene, all of them. They meet at a hotel room, with their sister. The two sisters, they have one more sister, and she is supposedly quite well off, and her husband has taken over the family property, and these two women, they have been deprived of their share in the family property. Okay, and so before that scene, um, uh, uh, Mammo had asked Riaz that he should release all of those fishes into the sea so that they are free, they can enjoy their freedom. But he said that if he will put them into sea, they will be eaten up, they will be swallowed by the big fishes. And the very next scene, we go to this hotel room scene where the three sisters are sitting, and there is this big fish. Again, a metaphor. It's an extension of the metaphor. The brother-in-law, the corrupt, the greedy brother-in-law who has taken over the share of the sisters. And Fayazi has no problems with it. She doesn't want to bring to have any turbulence in the family, and she wants everyone to have amicable relations. And but Mammo is is the one, the rebellious one, and she makes it a point that she talks about the matter that has been brushed under the carpet, and she discusses that she is not happy that these two are deprived of their share, because that is their sole sustenance. So very importantly, thank you for reminding me of this motive, because I wanted to talk about it, but there were so many things. I mean, there's this collage. I mean, this entire movie is like a collage, where one can read and unearth a lot of meanings. So this was a very important metaphor. Yes, visual metaphor, and it has been, treated well. It has been developed well. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anyone else who wants to speak? Okay, if there are no more comments and responses, let me thank once again Shubha for introducing the film and for engaging with the discussion so well. Thanks everyone for joining in the discussion tonight. We will come back again next Saturday for another round of discussion on yet another interesting film. Meanwhile, have a happy weekend and a very good night and a good day to Fabian as well. Thank you. Thank you all so much.
It was a pleasure joining
Thank
you
you, Dr.
both, and
Shubha.
thank you for this opportunity to share my views on the movie. And I hope I did justice to that. Thank you so much,
For
Professor
that,
Nikhil
and
and
hope
other.
to see you again,
Yeah, sure,
Shubha.
sure.
Again and
I would
yeah.
love to. Yeah.
Okay.
Good
Okay then.
night.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Right,
Thank
right.
you.
See you
Thank
next
you. Good
week.
night,
Good
everyone.
night.